Good morning, all of you. Today we are going to start block 2. Today's topic is demand analysis. This is unit 5 in block 2. In this class, we are going to discuss about what is demand, what are all the demand determinants, how individual demand differs from market demand, what is law of demand, what are different types of elasticity of demand. With this, we will complete the class. As far as the demand analysis is concerned, the purpose of this particular topic is to understand about the role of demand in business and how the price elasticity influence the business. In order to familiarize with the demand determinants, these are all the objective of demand analysis. In managerial economics, the concept demand is considered to be the lifeline of the business. The term demand refers to quantum of goods and services are needed or desired or required by the individual or industry at a particular price level for a specific period of time. The axiom of demand force is demarcated relation between the wants and the means of the product. Human wants are unlimited, but the means are limited. The linkage of wants and means of the product is the demand. Different authors have defined the term demand in different ways, but the following definition is a consolidated view of all definition. The definition goes like this: the amount of specific economic goods or services that an individual consumer or a group of consumers willing to purchase or willing to experience at a particular price for a given period of time, supported by ability to pay for the same. The definition is very concrete. Why? Because three factors we should remember. One is it is a individual demand or a group of consumers. This is the first point. Second one, willing to purchase, willing to experience. Purchase for the physical goods, willing to experience for the service product. And the time is specified. And all these things are possible only with the ability to pay is there. I will repeat again. The amount of specific economic goods or service that an individual consumer or a group of consumers willing to purchase or willing to experience at a particular price of a given period of time, supported by ability to pay for the same. Let us move to the determinants. There are various factors influencing the demand. Some of them are listed below. They are called determinants of demand. Number one is the price. The first determinant is the price of the product. The second determinant, not only the price, the price of the related good, the competitor, or it may be complementary. The third one is substitution of the product. That particular substitution, sometimes it is a complementary product. Then the fifth determinant is income of the consumer. Then there are many other determinants like taste and preference of the consumer, advertisement, so and so on. So these 5 or 6 are more important, which are considered as determinants of demand. You can see the diagram in this. Totally 9 determinants have been listed: the price of the product, price of the related product, substitute product, complementary product, income of the consumer, taste and preference, advertisement, and other determinants. After knowing the determinants, we should know how to differentiate the individual demand and the market demand. A mathematical expression of a relationship between the quantity demanded of the product and a determining factor is called the demand function. That demand function Either it may be an individual demand function or it may be a market demand function. Once you know how to construct the demand function, not only for individual but also for the group of people, then it is easy to understand the difference between individual demand function and the market demand function. The mathematical expression for individual demand is QA. Here QA is a quantity demanded for a product, which is equal to, it is a function of the following determinant. What are they? Price of the product, level of household income, Y. Then P1. P1 is a price of the related product, P1, P2 up to Pn minus 1. If nth product is our product, there are n minus 1 competitors will be there. The price of the related product. TP is a taste and preference. Advertisement. Sometimes the consumer may expect there is a change in the future income. Sometimes they may expect there is a change in the future price. These are also influence the demand. So it is a function of price of the related product, household income, future change in price of the related product, advertisement expenditure, and these are all the elements which construct the individual demand. Suppose if you try to construct the market demand, then there will be a slight difference. Why? Because along with the individual demand function, when you add two more factors, what are they? The size of the market. In statistics, we used to call it as a population. And demographic factor, if you add like age, gender, or income, or about a particular specification about the product, then that individual demand function will be converted into market demand function. But the rest of the thing are same, because QA is a quantity demanded for a product A. It is a function of price of product A, the level of household income. The third one is different prices of related goods. TP is a taste and preference. AD is the advertisement. EY is the expected future income. EP is a expected future price. Along with that, we have to add the population factor and demographic factor. Population here is the size of the market. So when you construct these two demand function, it is easy to differentiate the individual demand and the market demand. After knowing what is demand and what is difference between individual demand and market demand, now let us move to the law of demand. Law of demand is nothing but this is a way to express the relationship between the demand of the product and price of the product. The law of demand states that the higher the price, the lower will be the quantity demanded, and vice versa. This concept was initiated by neoclassical economist Professor Alfred Marshall, who expressed that there is an inverse relationship between the price and quantity demanded. We will see his own words. This is a definition for law of demand. While writing the definition, please mention the author name, because if you fail to mention the author name, out of 3 marks, they will award only 2 marks. So for writing that economist's name only gains 1 more mark. So you start the definition like according to Alfred Marshall. The definition goes like this: other things remaining the same, the amount demanded increases with a fall in price and diminishes with the increase in price. From the above definition, we can understand certain things. It is called features of law of demand. The first one, there is an inverse relationship between the price and the demand. The second one, the price is an independent factor. Then demand is a dependent factor. The last one, ceteris paribus, that is called other things remain constant. So these are the 4 features of law of demand. Before explaining about the law of demand, first we should know what are the assumptions made out of this particular theory. The assumptions are, the first assumption is no change in price, not only the price of the product, but also the price of the related product. The income of the consumer is constant. There is no change in taste and preference of the consumer. There is no change in the habit, style, fashion of the consumer. There is no change in the technology. The size of the population remains the same. The expectation of future change in price is absent. Why? These seven is nothing but the fourth feature, ceteris paribus, that is other things being constant. That particular word gives this list of assumption. What are they? The price is not changing, income is not changing, no change in the taste and preference, no change in the habit, style or fashion, no change in technology. The size of the population remains the same and expectation of future is absent. So that ceteris paribus, that word gives this list of assumptions. You may expect a separate section B question in this. Now let us represent the law of demand. You measure the quantity demanded in the x-axis and the price in the y-axis. When you construct that demand schedule, you can get a downward sloping curve from left to right. The price of the product is measured in the vertical axis y and quantity demand measured in axis x. The shape of the demand curve will be downward sloping curve from left to right, as you see in the diagram. You can see the diagram here. When quantity is QO, then it is PO will be the price level. When quantity is Q1, P1 will be the price level. So that is why it is coming downwards from left to right. This particular law of demand is having a number of exceptions. Normally, law of demand means there should be an inverse relationship between the demand of the product and the price of the product when other things being constant. This statement is not true always, because sometimes there will be a positive relationship between the price and the quantity demand. When price increases, demand also increases. Those situations are called exception to law of demand. Some of them are now, let us say, suppose consider a necessary good. Necessary good means food, rice or wheat. In case of necessary good like food, the law of demand will not hold good. As the price of the rice increases, there is no change in demand because minimum consumption is necessary for the survival. Irrespective of price, there will be a minimum consumption in order to avoid the starving. So in case of necessary goods, it is not possible to apply the law of demand. This is the first exception to law of demand. Second one is consider the inferior goods. Inferior goods mean in case of inferior goods, the law of demand cannot be applied. Why? Because law of demand will not work. As the price of the inferior good increases, the demand will be the same. For example, salt. Salt is an inferior good. When the price of the salt increases, we will never change the consumption. Even if they are giving in a free of cost, we need the same level of consumption. So in case of inferior goods, it's not possible to apply the law of demand. This concept was given by Sir Robert Giffen. Therefore, this concept is called Giffen paradox. You may expect a section A question. What is Giffen paradox? It's nothing but Giffen paradox has given a statement that the law of demand cannot be applied for inferior goods because there is no inverse relationship between the price of the product and the demand for the product. This is called Giffen paradox. The third one is called Veblen effect. In case of inferior goods, it is not applicable, invented by Sir Robert Giffen. This, suppose it is of luxurious goods, it is called Veblen effect. In case of some goods like luxury goods like precious metals, costly car, bungalow, all these things, which are all representing our status. When the price of the gold increases, people demand more. So there is a direct relation. So the law of demand failed to apply. That is why we used to call this exception as Veblen effect. This question also you can expect in a section A. One more situation, which is exception for the law of demand, is in case of emergency situation or urgency in consumption, law of demand cannot be applied. The price of 1 unit blend may be 1,000 rupees under, but under emergency, if the donor demands more, there will be a consumption with an increase in price in order to save the life. Therefore, the law of demand will not be applied in case of urgency or emergency situation. One more exception is taste and preference. When the consumer is particular about the consumption of a particular product out of its taste and preference, the law of demand cannot be applied. Irrespective of change in price, there will be a same quantity of demand. Why? Because he prefers that. He is very particular about the product, not the price. Then change in fashion. The change in fashion is another exception to law of demand, as there will be a positive relationship between the demand. For example, in a t-shirt, Happy New Year 2015, it is printed in the t-shirt. People will not demand even at a reduced price, because change in fashion. People may think that it is a old one, so he will not buy. So these are all some of the exception to law of demand. After knowing what is law of demand, what are the features and the exception to law of demand, then it is necessary to understand the elasticity of demand. Why? Because the law of demand expresses the inverse relationship between the price and the demand for the product. But it has been criticized in several grounds. Why? Because here we assume that price is an independent variable, demand is a dependent variable. Price is not the only factor that affects the demand for the product. It shows only the direction, but not the quantum of change. Unrealistic assumption. So these are the ways it has been criticized. So in order to overcome this particular shortcoming, Professor Arthur Marshall have propounded a new concept called elasticity of demand. According to him, this is a definition for elasticity of demand: the degree of responsiveness of demand due to change in factors. What are the factors? Like price, product, income, etc. So on. The price of the related good, these are all the factors, are called elasticity of demand. I will repeat again: the degree of responsiveness of demand due to change in price is called price elasticity of demand. When you want to define income, the degree of responsiveness of demand due to change in income of the consumer is called income elasticity of demand. The degree of responsiveness of demand due to change in the advertisement expenditure, then it is advertisement elasticity. So elasticity of demand is generally classified based on the factors considered. In our syllabus, we are including only 4 types of elasticity of demand. One is price elasticity, the second one is income elasticity, third one is cross elasticity, and the last one is advertisement elasticity. So when they ask in section B, what are the types of elasticity of demand, then you have to write these 4. There are n number of elasticity of demand, mainly 4 different categories. One is price elasticity of demand. How to define? The degree of responsiveness of demand due to change in price is price elasticity of demand. What is the second type? The degree of responsiveness of demand due to change in income of the consumer is income elasticity of demand. What is cross elasticity? The degree of responsiveness of demand for product X due to change in price of product Y is called cross elasticity of demand. In this way, there are 2 products involved. These 2 may be related good. Either it may be substitute or complementary goods. Tea and coffee are substitute, pen and refill are complementary. Then the last one is advertisement elasticity. The degree of responsiveness of demand due to change in advertisement expenditure is known as advertisement elasticity. Now we will explain the price elasticity in an elaborated manner. First, we will define what is price elasticity, then what is the formula to calculate the price elasticity, then what are the types of elasticity, and then we will draw the diagram for the price elasticity. Let us start with the definition. According to Alfred Marshall, degree of responsiveness of demand due to change in price of the product is known as price elasticity of demand. From the above definition, the price elasticity is a tool to understand the level of relationship between the demand for the product and the price of the product for the given change in price. We can derive formula with this particular definition. What is the formula? EP equal to dou D by dou P. What is EP? EP is a price elasticity. What is dou D? It is proportionate change in demand. Dou P is proportionate change in price. Those formula will be price elasticity is equal to proportionate change in demand divided by proportionate change in price. This can be explained with proportionate, or sometimes it is substituted with a percentage value. So percentage change in demand divided by percentage change in price also will give the value of the elasticity, but it is in the percentage. It is to be noted that due to inverse relationship between the demand for the product and the price of the product, the value of price elasticity always be in the negative sign, but we have to ignore the sign. We have to take modulus. We should take only the value of price elasticity by applying modulus. I will repeat again. Your value derived from the formula will be negative sign, but ignore the sign. Only the value will be taken into account. The price elasticity is classified into 5 categories based on the value extracted, which are explained in the following manner. The first one is called unity elasticity of demand. Consider the demand increased by 10% due to change in price in the same 10%. Therefore, the value of price elasticity will be equal to 1, called unity. The formula will be EP equal to dou D by dou P, which is dou D is 10% and dou P also 10%. Therefore, EP equal to 10% by 10% equal to 1. This can be diagrammatically represented by measuring the price in the y-axis and demand in the x-axis. You can see the diagram, figure 1, unit price elasticity. It is a downward sloping up left to right. The portion will be equal. That is why it is called unitary elasticity. On contrary, when the demand is increased by 5% only due to change in 10%, then the value will not be equal to 1. It will be less than 1. It ranges from 0 to 1. So this type of elasticity is called relatively elasticity demand. What is dou D? Dou D is 5%, dou P is 10%. So elasticity of demand equal to 5% by 10%. It is 0.5. It is less than 1. It is not unity. It is relatively inelastic demand. So how we have to construct the diagram? You can see the figure 2. Here, the change will be 5% in price axis, 10% in the demand axis. So the value will be less than 1. The same way, when it is more than 1, it is relatively elastic. How it will happen? The dou D will be 10% and dou P will be 5%. So EP equal to 10% by 5%, which will be 1 point something, greater than 1. It may be 2, 3, whichever be. That particular situation, we used to call it as relatively elastic demand. Here, the demand curve is a little bit steeper. You can see the figure 3. The price increased by 10%, but the demand is changing only by 5%. So it is relatively elastic. The value will be greater than 1. Then 2 more situations is called perfectly elastic. The other one is perfectly inelastic. When there is no change in price, but demand is changing, then it is perfectly elastic. Irrespective of price, the demand is changing. It is perfect. Market is there. On the other way, when there is no change in demand, but prices keep on changing, then the value is indeterminate. Why it is happening? We cannot reason out. So it is perfectly inelastic because the constant demand is there, but prices keep on changing. This is exception to law of demand. Why? Because in case of necessary goods or inferior goods, this may happen. So these are all the 5 types of elasticity. I will summarize for your, when you write in the conclusion, what are the 5 types and write the value, you can get full marks. How? Have 5 columns. One is what is a change in demand, what is a change in price, first 2 columns, then value of price, and you give the remarks. What is the type of elasticity? The first one is the demand is 10%, price is also 10%. So EP will be equal to 1. It is called unitary because the value is 1. In the second situation, demand is less, that is change in demand is less, change in price is more. So the value ranges from 0 to 1, relatively elastic. The third situation, Change in demand is more, change in price is less, so the value will be greater than 1. It is called relatively elastic. The fourth one is no change in price, but demand is keep on changing. Then it is called perfectly elastic. The last one is there is no change in demand, but irrespective of change in price, then it is perfectly inelastic. With this, let us move to the other types of elasticity of demand: income elasticity, cross elasticity, and advertisement elasticity in the next class. Before concluding the class, let you know, sometimes they may ask in section B, what are the methods to calculate the elasticity? There are various methods are there. Some of the methods are analytical method. The second one is percentage method. Third one is graphical methods. The fourth one is mathematical methods, and the total outlay method. Depending upon the data available in a particular, any particular method will be chosen, and easiest method is the percentage method and graphical method. That's what we have solved in the above. Explanation is based on the graphical and percentage method. It is to be noted that the price is a predominant factor to analyze the demand, but there are many other factors like income related goods which are also important. So the elasticity of demand not restricted with the price elasticity, but also the income and other elasticity. With this few words, I will complete this particular class. We will continue the same unit in the next class, the other types of elasticities. Thank you. If you have any doubt, you can post a comment. Thanks for watching the video.